Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are re-breaking down a super common investing question. What is the difference between an ETF and an index fund? They sound similar, and they often invest in the same things, but the way they function can affect your strategy, your taxes, and your long-term returns. Let's make it simple. First, what are they? At their core, both are investment tools designed to give you broad exposure to the market by tracking a specific index. An index is just a list of stocks or bonds that represents a particular segment of the market, like the famous S&P 500, which includes 500 of the largest publicly traded companies in the U.S. Think of an index as a recipe for a fund. Both ETFs and index funds follow that recipe to build their portfolios. Let's start with a traditional index fund. This is a type of mutual fund. A mutual fund is a company that pools money from many investors and invests it in a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, or other assets. An index fund is a specific type of mutual fund that passively tracks a market index. So, when you invest in an S&P 500 index fund, your money is used to buy shares in all 500 companies in that index, in the same proportions as the index itself. The goal isn't to beat the market, it's to be the market. You're essentially buying a small piece of the entire market segment the fund tracks. Now, what about an ETF? An ETF, or exchange-traded fund, is a bit of a hybrid. Like an index fund, it also tracks an index and holds a basket of underlying assets, such as stocks or bonds. You get the same diversification benefits. However, the key difference is in its name, exchange-traded. An ETF is bought and sold on a stock exchange throughout the day, just like an individual stock, such as Apple or Microsoft. So while both vehicles try to match the performance of an index, ETFs give you more flexibility and function more like a stock. Here's one of the biggest differences: how you buy and sell them. This is where the structural differences really become clear and can impact your investment process. When you want to buy a traditional index fund, you typically go directly to the fund company that offers it, like Vanguard or Fidelity, or through your brokerage account. The key thing to remember is that all transactions for mutual funds, including index funds, happen only once per day, after the market closes at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The price you pay is the fund's net asset value, or NAV, which is calculated at the end of the trading day. Everyone who bought or sold that fund on that day gets the exact same price. You can't time your purchase to a specific moment during the day. ETFs, on the other hand, trade very differently. Because they are listed on stock exchanges, you can buy and sell them at any time during market hours, from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Their prices fluctuate throughout the day, just like a stock's price, based on supply and demand. This means the price you pay for an ETF share could be slightly different from its underlying net asset value, though market mechanisms usually keep these prices very close. This intraday trading capability also means you can use more advanced trading strategies that you'd use for stocks, like placing limit orders to buy at a specific price or stop-loss orders to sell if the price drops to a certain level. This gives you much more control over the execution price of your trade. Both ETFs and index funds are known for being low-cost investment options, which is a major reason for their popularity. However, there are some nuances when it comes to fees and initial investment requirements. Traditional index funds are famous for their low expense ratios. The expense ratio is an annual fee, expressed as a percentage of your investment, that covers the fund's operating costs. Because they are passively managed and don't require a team of analysts to pick stocks, these costs are kept very low. However, one potential hurdle with index funds is that they often come with minimum investment requirements. For example, a fund might require you to invest at least $1,000 or even $3,000 to get started. While some brokerages are waiving these minimums, it can still be a barrier for new investors. ETFs often have even lower expense ratios than their index fund counterparts, although the difference can be very small. A huge advantage of ETFs is that there's typically no minimum investment beyond the price of a single share. If a share of an S&P 500 ETF is trading at $400, you can start with just $400. And with the rise of fractional shares, many brokerages in the U.S. now allow you to invest in an ETF with as little as $1. One thing to watch out for with ETFs, though, is potential trading costs. While most major U.S. brokerages now offer commission-free trading for ETFs, you might still encounter bid-ask spreads, which is the small difference between the buying price and the selling price at any given moment. Now let's talk about a topic that every U.S. investor needs to consider: taxes. This is where ETFs often have a significant advantage thanks to their unique structure. ETFs are generally more tax efficient, especially in a regular taxable brokerage account. To understand why, we need to look at how these funds handle redemptions. That is, when investors sell their shares. When you sell shares of a traditional index fund, the fund manager might need to sell some of the underlying stocks to raise the cash to pay you. If those stocks have gone up in value since the fund bought them, this sale triggers a capital gain. At the end of the year, the fund must distribute these capital gains to all of its remaining shareholders, who then have to pay taxes on them, even if they didn't sell any of their own shares. These are called capital gains distributions. ETFs have a clever way of avoiding this. They use an in-kind creation and redemption process. When a large institutional investor wants to redeem ETF shares, the ETF manager doesn't sell stocks for cash. Instead, they give the institutional investor a bundle of the actual stocks from the fund's portfolio. Because no stocks were sold for cash, no capital gain is triggered within the fund itself. This process largely shields you, the individual ETF investor, from having to pay taxes on capital gains you didn't personally realize. You only pay capital gains tax when you sell your own ETF shares for a profit. This can make a huge difference in your after-tax returns over the long run. So, how do you decide which one is right for you? It really comes down to your investing style and goals. An index fund might be a great choice for you if you're a long-term, set-it-and-forget-it investor. If you plan to make regular automatic contributions, say every paycheck, index funds are perfect. Their single end-of-day pricing simplifies the process, and you won't be tempted to time the market by trading during the day. They are excellent for building disciplined, long-term wealth, especially within a retirement account like a 401k or an IRA, where the tax advantages of ETFs are not a factor. An ETF, on the other hand, might be better if you prefer more control and flexibility. If you want the ability to trade throughout the day, use specific order types, or if you're looking for access to more niche market segments, ETFs offer a wider variety. They are also ideal for investors who are just starting out with a small amount of money, thanks to the lack of minimum investment requirements. And of course, their tax efficiency makes them a superior choice for investing inside a taxable brokerage account. To wrap it all up, both index funds and ETFs are fantastic, low-cost tools for building a diversified portfolio that tracks the market. The choice isn't about which one is definitively better, but which one is better for you. An index fund is a classic mutual fund that trades once per day and is great for automated long-term investing. An ETF trades like a stock, offering greater flexibility, lower investment minimums, and significant tax advantages in a taxable account. The good news is you can't really go wrong with either. The most important step is just getting started on your investing journey. I hope this breakdown made the difference clear. If you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more simple investing guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.